In this week's episode, we are talking about abundance. We are bringing back the magic. I was feeling some sprinkling of fairy dust vibes today. It's really about just letting it go and just allowing yourself to be like, yeah, I am here to receive. I want these things. I want this abundance, and I'm letting it in. This is supposed to be easy today, so it shouldn't feel hard. I want you to do your best to be in your heart and be in your body. Try to let the mind have something else to do and allow yourself to just really be here, because if you're here, you've called this episode to you and it's yours. Claim it. It wants to come in. So today we have 6 messages about the energy of abundance. We're going to do our best to feel into it, to understand it. And once we understand and feel the energy of abundance, we can start aligning with it more. And once we're in alignment with it is when it starts to come forward. So let's break down some of our misconceptions about abundance and see what we are called to do or be, really, in order to align with this abundance. All right, let's get into message number 1. Abundance, the energy of it, is about deciding that we are worthy and good, that we are worthy and good and deserving of these things. And it's crazy to say, good, because we think yeah, of course I'm going to think that I'm good. But no, there's so many things in life that happen that make us think we're bad. And it starts off at a very young age, right? If we don't follow rules, if we don't do this, we are bad. I've definitely found myself saying okay, be good or something like that. Or I'll hear my husband say it sometimes to the kids. I'm like, oh my God, no. But it's just normal, right? For us to think as humans that there's a good way and there is a bad way. And if we've done certain things, then we're not good. And that is it's basically like a dam that is closing back all of this abundance that wants to come in. So I was really getting this vision of a gate opening up and us just opening the gate. So imagine yourself just opening the gate. You're ready to open the gate to what is trying to come in. And part of that is by saying, I am good and I am worthy. So for me, I have never been a rule follower. Surprise, surprise. I'm a middle child and I have been guided by my heart and my gut and my intuition from a very young age. And because of that, and then I had an older brother who was like a typical older brother and kind of followed all the rules. And I was so different from that. And because of that, I just really internalized that I was bad and that, because I wasn't following these rules, bad things were probably going to happen to me, or that I just knew I was going to get less than, is kind of the way that I internalized this and understood this. And it took me a while to realize oh my gosh, I was never bad. I was just being true to my true self, to who I really am. I am an intuitive being. I'm a very sensitive being. I can only move to the beat of my drum. I have very little, I don't know if the word's patient, but I just have I don't have the capacity to follow something that's not true for me. It's very hard for me to do. I can only last so long. I'm just not strong enough to put my head down and to turn off my guidance system. I just, can't do it. So because of that, I thought okay, well, I don't follow rules. I guess I'm going to get what I deserve. And because of that, that was my way of putting this gate or putting up this dam to the certain things that I wanted in life. And it wasn't until I started to be oh no, this is who I am, that things started to flow in. And this is really, I share that story because there's probably something there with you. When I say that you are good or you are worthy, you might think about all the reasons why you're not good or why you're not worthy, all the mistakes you've made, or all the things that didn't, that you didn't go by or whatever. And you may even want to meet with your inner child, especially with the topic of good. We have a meditation and clarity app for the inner child, and really see where that all started so that you can start to open up and be no, I am good and I am worthy. You are, because you are a child of God. So all of this is available to you, all of it. And it doesn't matter what you've done or where you've been or anything like that. If you really sit with it, there's probably a reason why that came forward. And sometimes also the bad things that we have done are a response to how we saw ourselves or what we thought about ourselves. But to really let yourself have a clean slate, especially when it comes to wanting to let abundance in, because if you're trying to let in more, whether that's money, love, whatever abundance you're trying to let in, you really do have to start new, born again, and just deciding I'm good and I'm worthy the exact way that you were created. Like the day that you were born, that was true for you. And then, of course, we have all these like human experiences that make us think otherwise. But to come back to knowing that that is the core and the truth of who you are. You are good and you are worthy. And once we connect to that, we are more in connection with the energy of abundance. Message number 2. The energy of abundance is also connected to being a good receiver. When this was coming through, I was seeing like a little triangle, a little pyramid. Like we are the receivers of these things. And being a good, we can either be good receivers or not so good receivers. And not so good receivers are just us blocking ourselves. I actually wrote down a few things that like can make a bad receiver sometimes. But a good receiver is just being a pyramid and knowing that we let things flow into us and feel what it feels like to receive. Like just take a minute and notice that receiving is actually not very active. You're sitting down and you're letting it come through. You're allowing it, right? Allowing, letting, bringing it in. What is that the opposite of? That is the opposite of controlling. The opposite of allowing and letting go is when we get very controlling. I have somebody working in my house today. I hired somebody to help me with some meals, and I went downstairs to like make sure he had everything he needed. And my kitchen is a mess and my refrigerator is a disaster. And I'm like, so much of me just want to control. And I'm like, no, I'm allowing this gift to come into my life. Like, I know that I need this. I brought this into my life. I need to allow this, right? Rather than, what is the point of that? Rather than get in and control. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the abundance. I'm going to stop like this joy that is coming my way. So the opposite, right, of allowing and being a good receiver is the controlling. So I got 3 things that make us bad receivers. The first, a controlling mind or like a micromanager. So imagine like a mind that like almost in a weird way, like wants to be right or wants to get the credit or like wants to do the thing, like almost like a mind that's like, I need to get the credit for this because if not, I am not worthy. Like, I can't just find $100 bill on the floor. Like I actually have to work for that $100 bill. Like I will not allow that. I remember when I was in college, it was like the biggest win ever. I felt guilty about it at first, but then I was like, well, where am I going to find somebody and tell them that they dropped $60? I was like, just like $60, like right there in the parking lot. I was like, well, what's going to, and I really just felt like it was for me. So I took the $60 and now that never happens to me because as I've gotten older, perhaps, well, first of all, I don't want to be in that moral dilemma again, but I would say that like, it's kind of like we're so used to earning and working for it. So that probably just doesn't happen so much. But I'm sure it's going to happen to my 20-year-old. I'm sure it can happen to like my 7 and my 12-year-old, right? Because like they're used to money coming to them in different ways. Like they don't really think that they always have to earn it or work for it. Like they're open to that. So really like the mind that tries to micromanage and like really needs the credit is actually what makes us a bad receiver. Another thing about being a bad receiver is a complicated mind. So like, and I hate on this one so much because this feels like it's the intelligent mind, it's the mind that like knows a lot. My son, my little Gemini, he just like knows too much. And sometimes he's just like not as open as, let's say, the youngest who is more imaginative. I remember like after college, I had already gone through my spiritual awakening and really questioning like the religion I was raised in and all that. And then I kind of like circled back onto this online world and doing spirituality my own way. And one thing that was like so funny is that I've met all these like Christian spiritual leaders online. And I was like, dude, these people are like killing it because their message or the way that they're understanding their message is so simple. And I'm definitely like overcomplicating it. And I wish I could be like as simple minded in a way as they are. And I mean that in as a compliment, because I think for me, I grew up like you need to be smart and be intelligent. And I enjoy my smart, intelligent mind. But sometimes it gets into the way of like some simplicity and just being like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be okay with accepting that I'm good, right? Like I just told you in message number 1, like you are good, right? And so much of us is gonna try to complicate that and be like, well, I'm not good because of this and blah, blah, blah. As opposed to being like, what if I could just accept that as truth? Like maybe I don't need to know the drama behind why I am good or why I'm not good. I had this teacher when I was first starting this work and she was, I was studying theta healing at the time, and she used to always tell us that like sometimes you're going to find things that like limiting beliefs that need to be replaced with a positive belief, and you don't want to get caught up in the drama often. Like she was saying that sometimes you might be like, oh, why did this limiting belief end up here? Like how did you like where did it come from? And that's the mind getting a little complicated and wanting to come up with some drama. And she was just so good of like not going down those rabbit holes. And I feel like sometimes it's hard not to do that. But the almost like the way that we allow that simplicity, and we allow the simplicity of the message of I am worthy, I am good, this is not super complicated, is actually what makes a better receiver. And lastly, the thing that kind of complicates a good receiver is a brain that needs to be right. It's just so funny how sometimes we really get committed to some of the beliefs that are truly blocking us. So, for example, maybe I've been trying something for a long time. Dating is always a good one. Maybe I've been dating for, 10 years, and I'm like, no, honestly, it's just there are no good guys out there. Like I promise you, like I've tried, I've dated, there are no good guys out there. That is me being committed to there are no good guys out there. And the thing is, what makes me sad about this is that the reality, right? The person's reality is probably showing them that, like they're not lying. They legitimately have seen that. So it's hard to convince the person to let that go because that's what they've seen. But it's like, do we really want to be right? Or do we really want what we want? Like, how committed are we? Are we more committed to being right? Or are we more committed to wanting and having what we want? So that's the switch. And we're gonna, and those are hard ones because like when we're committed to a belief, especially a negative one, and we want to be right, it could be hard to convince ourselves to let it go. But I think a easy, simple way of convincing ourselves is saying like, you know what? I think I'm ready of letting that go, because the truth is like what I'm really committed to is the love and the light that I'm trying to bring in and what I truly want. And I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to let that go. I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm not going to think that anymore. I'm really going to ask my reality to show me something else. And little by little, I'll build up the new belief that like there are some great guys out there and that they're available and single and that they want to be with me. So adding it little by little. And instead of saying like that I'm committed to this. So we want to be good receivers of abundance, and we want to see how open we are to receiving. Is there anything in our body, in our experience, in our mind, in our aura that is keeping us from receiving? And that is like a little check-in that we want to do. We can do a little bit of a body scan. And if you're in soul reading method right now, guys, you can read the energy of yourself and really see like, is there anything that is in contrast to actually being a good receiver and like what I want to receive, and how can I let that go? How can I send that off and be an open receiver? So I always see like a receiver being like almost like a vase. Like I want to make that vase very wide as much as possible so that I can receive as much as I can. A really skinny vase that's like caught up with all this density and all these like thoughts that are holding it back. It's like just making it very difficult to come in. And I think a simple question to ask ourselves is like, how easy is it for that thing that I want to come into my life? Like, is it easy? Am I making it easy? How easy am I making it? How easy am I making like that love to come in? How easy is it that I'm making that money to come in? Or am I really, really complicating it? Or is it like having to go through a bunch of different doors? Am I micromanaging it? Or am I truly open to receiving and being a good receiver? Message number 3, the energy of abundance is definitely a playful, kind of curious, just childlike, almost like a explorer type child vibe. And what I was getting is that it's really this feeling of there's a way to this path. So for example, if it's like, I want to manifest $1 million, there is a simple way to this path. Like that is what the receiver and the person that is connected to abundance is feeling like. Because I think you can say like, yeah, of course there's a way to $1 million, but then quickly that bad receiver by accident may say, yeah, but it's really hard to do that. Or I'd have to really work hard, or I'd have to do it this way. Or I'd have to do it with my old career when I really want to make it with my new career. Or it's really difficult, like all these different things, right? So the true receiver and the person that is in the energy of abundance is more like, I know there's a way. I know there's an easy way. I know there's a simple way for me. And I know that when the time is right, it'll show itself to me. So again, the receiver is not necessarily like going out for it as much as like one may think. There is a patience to the receiver for sure, but it's letting it come to them, especially with that idea of letting that path show itself, like letting that path show it up. The minute I say there's a path for it, I might not be on it. I might not know exactly what it is. But basically what I'm doing is like I'm going out into the field, the energetic field, and being like, bring me that path to $1,000,000 that's easy, that is fun, that has to do with my creativity. Like bring it to me and let me see it little by little, and or let me see it really quickly, however we want to do it. But we're really believing that it's not just like intellectually like, oh, Nikki said this in the podcast, I'm going to try that. It's really like believing like, no, where there's a will, there's a way. And what that really means is like where there's a dream, there's a path. So allowing that path to come forward and existing as a person that's like, yeah, I absolutely believe there's a path to that. Like, I mean, I know exactly like what it is right now. And maybe sometimes the paths that show up are a little bit more complicated than the ones. They're not just right. I want the path that is just right. And I'm going to let it show itself. I'm allowing it to start to show itself. So try that little exercise, like see what that does for you. But you really have to believe that there is a path to it. Message number 4, I think where a lot of us get abundance wrong and calling it in and understanding the energy is that we start from a place of wanting it, which is normal, right? Most of the things that we vision and most of the things that we're trying to call in come from a place of, in a way, lack, right? It's the contrast of like not having it. It's like, oh, like I don't have this thing. I really want it. I really want a house. I really want a partner. I really want a business. And while that's a normal part of the kind of dreaming process, right? Like I would never blame myself for having that. It's like, yeah, that's normal to like want. But at some point, that want has to kind of transform into the next stage, because when we want, we're actually keeping something separate from us and we're actually putting it in the future. I've talked about this before, right? Like, I don't want you guys to think like, oh, in the future, this is coming, or I can see this coming for me in the future, because it keeps you separate from the present. So instead, we want to be in the present and bring that future into the present rather than seeing them as two separate things. So when I see about wanting, it's almost like, oh, when I see wanting, it's kind of like keeping it in the future. It's kind of like saying it's separate from me, like it's not here for me. So instead of wanting, we actually want to get into a place of knowing. And we talked about that in the last one. It's really like, okay, knowing there's a path, like knowing that this is available to me, knowing that this exists for me. And I know this is like a hard concept to understand sometimes, guys, but we are one. We're all connected. So when I see somebody have something, that is actually the universe letting you know that it's coming for you. And I know that's so hard, because often when we see somebody having something, we think that that resource doesn't belong to us because we're separate from them. It's like, oh, well, Mary has it, so that means that's one less good guy out there because Mary has the good guy or whatever. But really, when we start to understand like, oh, I am Mary and Mary is me, and what she has is also what I have. And I know that can be like hard to understand, but basically saying that like that resource is available to me. So I know, like I no longer am in a place of like needing or wanting or feeling desperate for it, and instead knowing. And it's hard because of course we want it to be in our physical realities. Like I want the money in my bank account, or I want the person in my home. But it first starts off with coming into knowing rather than being in the distance, which is wanting. So we have to start there, like when you're wanting, it's in the distance. So then we have to start moving into knowing, and holding that new vibration, being in that space. And that's actually how it becomes physical and how it actually shows up in our reality. Message number 5. You know what's funny about abundance? Like when we say abundance, I think like you think money. And you know that the energy of abundance is actually the energy of something being free. So yesterday we went to this event and there was free coffee and donuts. And my kids just, walked up, they got the donuts. They're like, oh, this is great. Like these donuts are available and they're available to everybody. Or when you, I don't know, like during the hurricane that we had here, like there was a bunch of free supplies. Like you just walk up, you grab the thing, and it's free. Or let's say your kid's going to school and they don't really know this, but like you guys bought the school supplies, but there's a bunch of supplies there for the kids, and they kind of just show up and they're like, oh, it's free, it's available. What's funny is that the energy of abundance is that energy. It's the energy of like something being available for me. Like I didn't need to work for this. This thing is free and it's all good. I can just go and grab it. It's there. So it's funny that like we need to kind of merge with that feeling of something being available to me, something that, and the closest thing to it I was getting was that like, just think about when you get something for free or when you access something for free. You might even like not think too much about it. That is the energy of abundance. Like that's actually what we want to merge into and kind of hold and be like, this is available to me. Like I can just walk up and get it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe thinking about the water that comes out of my spring or something, like this is available to me. This is abundant to me. And that is the feeling. So I got the word merge, which makes me think of meditation. I mean, in order to move into the energy of abundance, we are going to have to move our energy there. And that doesn't just like happen out of nowhere. Like definitely meditation is the best way to do that. So actually sitting and merging with any of these feelings that are sticking out to you, like any of the ones that I said, actually sitting in meditation and being like, okay, can I hold this vibration? Can I hold this feeling? And can I merge with the energy of abundance? And when I live there, that's when these things start to show up for me. But I would say the biggest blocker of abundance is thinking that we need to work for it, like thinking that we need to earn it or try hard, or that, again, that's kind of saying like, oh, I'm in this video game that it's like outside of me, as opposed to being like, no, it's all here for me. And I am connecting to that. If you guys need a little bit of extra help, in the Clarity app, we have a new video that I put up that's under the coaching series with Nikki. It's like Coaching with Nikki, and it's about getting into the energy. It's making that energetic shift, whatever shift it is that you want to make. And I give you a little exercise how to do that. So if you're in the Clarity app, check it out. And if not, please join us. And lastly, message number 6, because we actually don't have 7 today. 6 was about using your senses to give you evidence that it exists. Because part of not feeling abundant or not being in abundance or having it here, there's actually obviously a lot of doubt, right? Like there's a lot of like not believing, like not, it's hard because maybe it's been many years that you haven't had this thing. So you're kind of like not seeing it within your own reality or your own movie. So you're just getting to this place that you don't believe that it actually exists. So here we were being asked to use our senses for, like really being like, your senses also are what allow you to be present. So allowing yourself to be like, okay, I want to see the money that I'm looking for. I want to feel it. I want to hear it, and allowing your actual reality to bring that in. And it doesn't mean that it's supposed to be in your life. It's actually like building the evidence by seeing it in other people. And again, when we remember that we are all one and all of this belongs to us in a funny way because we are all connected, we are all one. When you start to see it in other realities, really deciding that if it is there, you've already halfway manifested it. Like you just manifested it. Yes, you happen to put it in somebody else's box, but now you want to bring it into your box. That's the next thing over, right? But being like, oh, I see it over there. Or like, oh man, I really felt that feeling today when I was hanging out with this friend. So like really giving yourself credit for that, because you need evidence. You need a little bit more evidence to allow this abundance to flow a little bit more. And that's going to kind of help you feel a little bit more comfortable, turn you into a believer and then therefore a knower, like somebody that knows that it's here, know that it's coming. So having to see it in other places and giving yourself credit for that and saying like, oh, that's the evidence. Like, oh my God, look at that. I already did it. Or I, somehow like have brought it in, made a mistake, just brought it into like so-and-so's box and not mine instead. And allowing yourself to build that evidence that the abundance is coming. Sorry guys, I said we didn't have 7, but one's coming through right now. And I think what's hard about abundance is that abundance is easy. So we have a hard time, but abundance is related to ease. So the more that we live in an easeful life and we're in the vibe of ease, it comes to us more. So really deciding, maybe I don't need to be one that struggles anymore. Like maybe I'm going to let that go. Maybe I don't need to be a victim anymore. Maybe I can just decide that things do flow easily for me, and that I'm okay with that. And I think when you get into ease, you get into a lot of gratitude because you start to see what is working for you, what's super great. And you're just kind of identifying more with the things that you're grateful for than the things that you're actually struggling with. And you're kind of changing your identity when you bring into a lot of gratitude because you're saying, like, okay, there's all these things in my life, and I can either be like team struggle or team grateful. And I'm going to decide to be team grateful. And with that, I become that identity. And what happens with somebody who is blessed, hashtag blessed. And I always think about like those like signs, like those like, what are those like farmhouse signs that say like hashtag blessed. So I move into like, yeah, that cheesy person who has a very blessed life and a very easeful life. And now I start to identify with that. And it's hard for us to let go and be that because we're just so used to the struggle. But that is where you're going to find abundance. A person that is receiving abundance, I mean, you can definitely receive abundance in other ways. Like you can make a lot of money by like working very hard and struggling, for sure. Like that is totally available. But I think the kind of abundance that you're calling in, or the one that really wants to talk to you, she's so like fairy dusty, and she's like, let me talk to you guys today. And she's like not even linear. I feel like I'm not even sure if I've given 7 messages or what, but she's trying to talk to you guys. And over here, it's just she's in the place, she hangs out with the people who are okay with being easeful and okay with accepting things, even if they didn't quote unquote earn it, because they just know like this is a playground. Everything's available to me and I hang out over here. So definitely building up that gratitude, deciding that you're going to identify with the things that you are grateful for in life, that you're going to identify with a person that has been blessed in all these different ways, and that that's who you are rather than the person that struggled. And I know that's hard because maybe the truth is you have struggled for many years, but you are allowed to change your identity at any moment. And when we change our identity, we change our story, we change our outcomes, we change our lives. So you're allowed to. You don't have to be that character anymore. You can totally write a spin-off of that movie, of that series you've been living, and like in this spin-off you're a totally different person, and you're identifying here with team gratitude so that you can go into the flow of ease, and that's where abundance is going to find you the most. All right, my friends, I hope that was expansive and supportive. Please check out Clarity app this week. We got a lot of good new stuff. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And I really make these things to support you on your journey because these things come through for you, for your expansion and for your growth. And we're just here to support you in that process. I send you so much love, and I'll see you in the next episode.